Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Anime Lounge Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Matt, alongside with my other host, Lance. As always, we have an adult beverage of choice. My adult beverage of choice today is going to be Journeyman's Distillery, Corsets, Whips, and Whiskey. I finished the bottle on this day, so just getting the last little bit that I have left. And then I've got a summer shandy because just trying to enjoy what summer shandy I can get, depending on how that whole situation with Leinenkugels goes.
Yeah.
What about you, Lance?
Yeah, and by situation with Leine's, he means that the workers are on strike. So we'll see how long we can find some cans around here.
Yes. I mean, I completely understand why they're on strike. Back them 100%, but obviously if I have some cans, I'm going to keep drinking it.
Agreed. And for me, I'm going to be drinking what's left of my Glenlivet 14-year scotch whiskey. And then after that, I will be pretty much finishing my old bottle of Tomatin, says Highland single malt scotch whiskey.
There you go.
From what I remember, that was decent too.
Yeah. Wasn't that Glenlivet birthday present? Wasn't that one what that is?
No, that one was like some kind of tropical variation. It was super good. I liked it. But yeah, I finished that a long time ago. No, but Glenny 14 is one of my favorites. So
yeah, definitely have to get another bottle because it's good. It is good.
Oh yeah, typically keep that stashed in the house at all times for just some me time.
But before we get too far, Lance, you want to give us that Lance's lesson?
Yes.
Spirit Guide!
Today's Lance's lessons is going to be the Japanese word for artificial intelligence, and that is Jinko Chino, spelled Jinkochino. And Jinko Chino is super obviously relevant to today's episode and pretty much all of SAO in general, because artificial intelligence is basically what we're all covering. And especially now because they're bringing artificial intelligence back to the real world.
Yeah. And I mean, let's be honest, even in our own real world, ChatGPT and GBT, that's what it is, is just taking over. You've got AI art. Speaking of strikes, the whole strike thing with the writers and actors, they were threatening to use artificial intelligence to write scripts. So yeah, it's coming full circle.
Right. And it's fun that we're talking about this now in our current date, but anybody that's listening to this in the future, this is, we're recording this mid-August of 2023. So can't wait to see what the future does about artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's going places.
Yeah, to the least. It's the least you can say.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy how it works. I know in my job, they're using bots and stuff to just do behind the scenes stuff. It's everywhere and people don't even realize it. It's crazy. But I'm not nearly smart enough to talk about artificial intelligence. So we'll leave that to the anime and they can make it as wild and crazy as they want to because it makes it realistic.
Right. And we won't jump too far ahead. Let's kind of go a little chronological in our discussion between when it comes to other topics, but we'll save that for one of our final discussions in the last couple episodes.
Okay.
Also, another thing before we get too far, Matt, was there a Matt's manga mentions for this?
Unfortunately, no. There's not going to be a manga mention for this one. If there would have been, I probably would have said the exact same thing as part 1 of Alicization, where I told you to just read the light novel because it was terrible. Well, in this case, you don't even get a manga, so read the light novel.
Yeah. You were saying earlier that the manga only went as far as, part 1, and they're not here for part 2.
Yeah, that's kind of whatever. I was so disappointed by the first part. Beyond just getting more SAO content, I'm not disappointed that there's not a manga for it, because I probably would have been disappointed in that one too.
Right. Also, maybe I should give everybody a quick recap of what this is and give everyone a synopsis, because usually we do that earlier.
Yeah, let's get into that one.
All right. So as we continue our series of Alicization, we find our main character, Kirito, in a coma after his fight with the Pontifex. 6 months go by while under the care of Alice and her sister back in Ruin. The American squad had been planning to infiltrate Wrath, which we saw at the end of the first half, and ends up diving back into the Underworld to retrieve the valuable Alice Flucklight. The Americans started a final stress test and launches an all-out war where the humans are now fighting the Dark Territory. Winner takes Alice and rules over the Underworld. Or so we thought. Yeah, that's what I wrote.
Yeah, that sounded like a WWE kind of plot twist going on right there. But yeah, it kind of exactly what happened. So
right, yeah, because our bad guys, Vecta and Gabriel and Critter, their big goal was to take over, get Alice, and completely, screw over the Underworld. Even though I think one or two of them wanted to be like, yeah, well, we can. Oh no. I was gonna say they wanted to. Oh, I think Critter was saying. No, not Critter. It was Gabriel who was saying that he wanted to take over and get rich off of movie stuff, put people into this world and they can watch movies and this kind of amazing animation.
No, so you're thinking of Vasigo, Casalis?
Yeah, Gabriel.
So Gabriel was the dark god Vecta, and then
oh, that's right.
Vasio was the guy who had the scar type thing on the side of his face.
Yes. That's what I was talking about.
He called himself Prince of Hell, or POH. Poe.
Yeah, that guy.
He was from Laughing Coffins. He was talking about taking this world and using it for essentially movies, which Vecta or Gabriel was like, yeah, no, dumbass, that doesn't work like that. Right. So, and essentially Gabriel just wanted Alice's soul to consume, which I thought was super weird, but we can talk about that later.
Right.
And so that's unfortunately, Vassaggio, Vassago, does not use his name very often, so they just kind of call him the Dark Knights, or
yeah, that's pretty much the best way to think of it, or Scarface guy.
Yes. And yeah, so those two characters, and then you had the Critter was the nerd, quote unquote, guy that was the hacker.
Yeah, I kind of learned to like him. He was he had some back talk to him every time he was talking to Scarface, and it's not like he was always trying to be a dick. It's like, this is the situation, this is the reality of it, and I'm not trying to fluff it up kind of stuff.
Yes, he was basically just like, hey, I get it, not possible. Do something to make it possible. And so it's kind of here and there. Nothing too. He was fine to me.
Yeah, he was fine.
And yeah, I guess since we're talking about characters, do you have a favorite character from Alicization War of the Underworlds? Is it the same character from part 1, or is it an entirely new character?
All right, so it's a little impossible for me to continue with what I was agreeing with on the last part, which was Yu-Gi-Oh! Because he's basically dead, but his sword's still there.
He's a little dead.
A little dead. I do want to go with Broccoli. He was pretty badass.
Yes, he was.
And that might go hand in hand with the one of my favorite scenes that's coming to my head right now, but I'll explain that in a minute. But yeah, Broccoli and his ability to slash time and stuff, it's too good. I do have a second one. So
okay.
So I should have went second. Who is yours?
Oh man. Broccoli is awesome. He is not my favorite though. I do want to talk about him some more. So I kind of want to go with this way. So for the human world individuals, I'm going to go with, I guess I'm going to kind of go with Alice.
Okay.
I just keep going back to her. I'm trying not to think that she was the best character throughout the entire series. But to me, she was probably my favorite character throughout the entire series. I'm talking about from beginning to end. So after she is in our real world and kind of has that sarcastic asshole tones to her, where during the interview, guy was like, well, just open up your head and let me see your internals. And she was like, well, why don't I open up your head and see your brain to make sure that you're a human?
Yeah, exactly. I love that part so much.
Yes, just that spunk, as you could say, that she's got, especially in the real world, that I really much did enjoy. And then, because I know you've got a second one, hopefully I don't ruin it, but Ishikan is my favorite from the Underworld.
Yeah, he's Khan. He's the pugilist leader, the guy with the yellow hair and the fist, he was fighting that other synthesis knight. He was awesome.
Shieta Synthesis 12. I don't think I said her name right, but yes, that one. Sheyta.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Sheeta.
Sheeta? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, even Sheeta was pretty cool, too. But
she was super cool.
he's kind of just, he was way too badass.
He was super badass.
He was my original favorite. I can't believe I forgot to say that right away.
So I definitely stole your second favorite then. Or did you have a different second favorite?
No, he was my original first favorite, but then Bercoli, Bercoli just sticks to you so hard because you've just, known him for so long. But
yes, he is also the epitome. Bercoli is the epitome of like the number one knights.
Yeah.
So just all those characteristics that you want, the father figure, the mentor figure, just seeing all the battles and kind of willing to admit when he's like, no, I've been in a lot of battles, but Kirito has been in so many more than I can even imagine. And he's like, shit, okay, yep, that's true. So
yeah, exactly. And I don't know how, I don't mean to bring Yu Yu Hakusho back into this, but every time I look at him, I think of Suzaku from the Saint Beast arc.
Yep.
It's right there. His hair, I don't know, really more along the lines of, I don't know, whatever. He just reminded me of it. The abilities are nowhere the same. He's got skin as hard as stronger than stone. He's got these amazing bursts of punches.
Just so that nobody's confused, you're talking about Ishkan, right?
Yeah, going back to him.
Okay, yep. Just because we were talking about Bercoli, so I didn't want to leave anybody to be confused.
Oh yeah, good point. Sorry.
But I completely understand what you're going with as far as that reference is concerned, and of course, that's our gateway anime / one of our favorites. So it's very easy to kind of want to reference everybody into them.
Right. Even though I try not to. That's all right. Yeah, sorry I threw that in there. But yeah, we can go back to Bercoli. He's just your badass number one knight, and he's intelligent, he's strong, he's a great leader. He's got when he's trying to get everyone to get, after Asuna made her appearance, he knew to bring everyone together because this wasn't going to be like a one-on-one conversation. This is everyone needs to be on the same page, and I just led that conversation in a way. Yeah, no, exactly. He is definitely deserving to be the number one integrity knight beyond just being the first one. Right. Man, I was going to ask you if you had a favorite integrity knight, but I feel like it's got to be Bercoli, so that's a bad question. Yeah, it's a little hard to get away from that. Well, then, how about I ask it this way? Do you have a favorite fight between the Integrity Knights? So of all the Integrity Knight fights, is he still your favorite? Yeah, and okay. that kind of comes, at the end when he's fighting Vecta. Yep. And I thought his fight was awesome. Yep. And it was, it was just a good fight at first. And then when he finally gets that idea, it's not so much an idea, but he shows us viewers that not only can he slash into the future, but he can slash into the past. And that's how he was going to take out Vecta. I was like, oh my God, that's so awesome. And then on top of that, it wasn't just going to be some kind of anime logic, this is how we're going to defeat this guy. Like he put up quite the fight. Mm-hmm. And Vecta was stopping him at every turn, and he almost had no chance to do anything. And then Bercoli finally got his, reverse time slash thing in, and then all thanks to his dragon, by the way. That was oh man, to ever feel bad for an animal, it's got to be right there, because it's just like, no, not the dragon. You're always feeling bad for these dragons too. Like they are so loyal to their knights. I know. I'm so glad that the two, I'm drawing a blank on what their actual names are because it's like some German name that's super kind of hard to say. Yeah, I didn't even write them down. Just those two. I'm so glad that Kirito basically reverse timed them and brought them back to eggs so that they could come back eventually. Oh, yeah. Eventually. And we didn't even really see them. So you saw them right at the end when Alice came back. Yep, I was just about to say that. Yeah, she just held up her hands and 2 eggs appeared out of nowhere. She had a pouch on her side. They're safely stored on the side of her hip. Yeah, that's true. So I guess we might see them in the next and final series of SAO, which we'll talk about at the end. Yeah, I mean, how else are they going to fly around if against planes than dragons? Come on. Yeah, exactly. We're going to need them.
But yes, to go back to Alicization, War of the Underworld, definitely a mouthful.
Yeah.
Oh man, so Broccoli was your favorite fight as far
Yeah.
as the Integrity Knights are concerned. Man, okay.
Yeah, what about you?
So I kind of want to say it's Sheeta, because that needle blade that she had, that she was like just straight taking out arms and legs and all these other limbs with no hesitation for anything.
Yeah, right?
So I guess I'm gonna, but I did like Desolbert. He's the archer guy where he's just racking arrow after arrow.
Deus Albert.
Deus, yes, and his. I'll be completely honest, all of them were so badass and so cool.
Yeah,
Even
right?
eventually when Renly finally came into battle after being a little bitch.
Yeah, I want to finish. All right, finish your thought, and then let's go back to Renly, because I want to talk about him for a second.
I will say this show did its due justice for every Integrity Knight. You got to see all their moves. You got to see them go all out, and everybody got their due justice as far as not just being an Integrity Knight by name. You really got to see them, so I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I 100% agree, because I mean they only showed us a small handful out of the 31. Yu-Gi-Oh being 32, but obviously he's not around. But yeah, it was, and we even got an acceptable shitty answer on why not all 31 of them were present. But
yes.
Like I said, it's acceptable.
Yes, I completely agree. So what were you going to say about Renly?
Okay, Renly. For all of our viewers, he was the green-haired one that was coward, in hiding from the war for a minute. So back when we were getting his backstory, this was before he was an official knight. We got to see one of his final duels with his friend, and how he was dueling him, and he went over for an over-the-head slash through his friend's sword and cut his face open, and that was a big emotional moment for Renly.
Yes.
But like we learned with all the synthesized knights, is their memories all get erased. So why would he remember this if this was before his his transformation?
Because it was a core thing. Basically, it was something that can't. So his desire to not fight was in his core. There was no way to get around it. Even if he couldn't remember why he didn't enjoy fighting anymore, he knew he couldn't fight.
Right. So yeah, this is like one of those intense memory things that the Pontifex just couldn't get rid of, because there was always a little bit of something left behind that she couldn't completely override. So I guess this is it for him.
Yeah, and I'll accept that as a reason, because I mean, it does make them kind of human, even though they're not supposed to be humans.
Right. So I just wanted to bring that out in conversation. So it's a little bit of a tweak, but it's acceptable enough. His weapons were pretty cool. He basically had these shurikens that he threw and really did some major damage.
Yeah, so then they combined into each other and made a really big one. I don't know how I feel about that, because I don't know, it seemed kind of anticlimactic just like he was. So I guess it works out.
Yeah, that's true. It was the next step up. It just wasn't anything, as amazing, but that's okay, because he's not a super important character.
Yes.
But even sorry, you go.
No, you're good.
But even those twin little girls, to tie in with him, Fitzel 29 and Linnell 28. Those two blonde girls, they were really funny, because they were like, because Renly was, supposed to be their senior in terms of seniority. So they had to follow under him, and they were just all being like cocky little kids and be like, oh, we already took care of all the bad guys in this area. We already have Kirito safe. What do you want us to do? And he's like, okay, we'll go do this. Like, okay, that was the obvious answer. We'll go do it.
Cool, thanks. I didn't know I was going to do that already. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was comical, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was very realistic. I enjoyed it. I guess there's only two Integrity Knights that we need to talk about. One was Fanatio.
Fanatio was the woman.
Yep, Synthesis 2. She's the one that can shoot the laser beams from the sun out, and then we find out that she's pregnant.
Yeah, that threw me off so bad. Well, that was episode 14. She just made a quick little comment, and it was, give our baby a happy life. And I'm like, I'm sorry, did you say that correctly? Did you tweet a thing?
Seconds.
And then a minute later, they just said, our baby is gonna grow up or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. So not only did we find out that Bercoli and Fernatio are having a baby, or they had, these are knights that had a relationship together, but then we had, in the beginning of the series when we were following the Dark Knights, and there was that Dark Knight leader, and he had that purple-haired chick back when Vecta made his appearance.
Yep.
They were going to be a thing, and you kind of wanted to root for him, but then Vecta had to go fuck shit up. And
that's a nice way to put it, yeah.
So it was just kind of funny that we saw that on the bad side, and then now here we are seeing it on the good side. It was, kind of the same thing.
I would say it's definitely the same thing. Because it was... Oh man, I'm drawing a blank on what her actual name is. Not really too much of not the biggest of deals. Yeah, so I did end up finding it. It was a Lipa that was the one that was trying to seduce Vecta to try and kill him, which obviously didn't work out in the slightest. And then the Dark Integrity Knight, I guess you could say it, was...
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't write down their names.
Well, I think they only literally said it once or twice, so...
Probably. But yeah, he was the leader of the Dark Integrity Knights.
Yes. I'm not finding it, but everybody knows who we're talking about, and he goes crazy. I thought that was really cool in the beginning of the season, just kind of showing everything, and I did end up finding it. It's Vixer.
Vixer, okay.
Yes, is his name. He kind of goes berserk and does what we've kind of seen, where through the power of sheer determination, you can, in this case, anime logic or game logic yourself to be stronger, and it again is for nothing against Vecta.
Right. Yeah, because we got to see our Dark Knight turn into this giant tornado blast and just get super strong, and it was really cool. It was probably going to turn into something interesting, and then Vecta had to go and just completely cancel it out. Not only cancel it out, but dude just evaporated into thin air.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest, I didn't like their reasoning where I was like, oh, this guy has no feelings, he is nothing, so if you use hate and anger to kill this person, he won't die. And it's like,
yeah, right,
that's not how a person works, but okay.
Yeah, because they brought that up twice.
The second time I can get it, because he was no longer human at that point, but the first time where he was Vecta still, you could have just made it so that it cut him and it didn't actually do anything. That would have been, to be completely honest, that probably would have been more cool to see, where it's oh shit, this guy is that strong, where this super badass looking move did absolutely nothing to him.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that would have been a slightly better route to go.
But nah, it was visually stunning. I'll give it that one. It looked cool.
Right.
Just because this is something that I thought of. Man, did this show, it went there. If it wanted to show body parts, it was giving you body parts. If it wanted to show just raunchy angles, that whole meme where it's talking about anime angles being weird and stuff. I know I sent you a screenshot. It was behind TIL and
that one.
Facing towards Vecta, and if anybody remembers what she wears, which isn't a whole lot, yeah, it's there. And then you've got when the Dark Knight's second in command, Lipa, is trying to seduce Vecta. It's all there for the show. This show is definitely not for kids. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's a lot more mature than what the first season definitely showed. That's for sure.
Yes. I know I'd said it on our last episode when we talked about Alicization, but this is what I thought SAO was going to be. To be completely honest.
Yeah, this just brought it to the next level, and it did nothing but amaze me all the time.
The story writing was really good. The character development was really good. All the characters were good, and no crazy CGI. You had your typical anime logic stuff, which I don't care. I'll get over it. It's not really a big deal to me, because if you can explain your anime logic, I'll completely accept it.
Ooh, there is one anime logic in this that I did not accept.
Okay.
And that was at the very end where Kayaba took over Niichiman, the other robot, and he's getting shot at, and he's got to go take care of that bomb that's going to blow up the turtle. And he's a robot. He's a human-made robot in the real world, and all of his functions go away. And then all of a sudden, by sheer willpower, his body comes back at full capacity and somehow is able to complete the mission.
But that's just like pulling the timer off the C4. It's not going to cause that to happen.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, I'll give you that one. I'll completely give you that one. But
That's
if you
the only true one I can say. But yeah, sorry, go on.
that's just like when in the first season of SAO, when Kirito dies and then he willpowers himself alive and then defeats Kaiba that way. And it's like, what? No,
Yeah.
that doesn't work.
Yeah, in this made up world, when you die, you die.
Except for those two.
Yeah, that's so crazy. But yeah,
Okay, yes, I'll give you that one. I thought you were going to bring up the deaths of, like the actual deaths of Gabriel and Visaggio, because their faces were all like shrunken in and everything. But then you have Kirito and Asuna that are perfectly fine after the same amount of time, after less time.
yeah. You know what? I didn't even think about that.
So I will say the only way I can logic this one is the fact that they died in the game and they believe they died within their soul, versus within Kirito and Asuna, they never died. So
Right.
their soul is still going, their soul is still reviving themselves, and that's why they don't look like the way they do.
Right.
But that's
And-
me using anime logic on anime logic. So.
Right. And for all we know, they could have had their real life bodies taken better care of. Our good computer guy, Higa, he could have probably gone in and adjusted a few things too. You never know.
I don't think anything got adjusted, but yeah.
Well, because it took a couple of weeks, or like, what was it, like 4 days or something like that for the 200 years to actually pass by, something along those lines.
No, I think it only took like an hour, but it probably took some period of time to like get them to be able to log out and not just obliterate themselves.
Right.
That part I guess I don't remember exactly the time period in which they went from the war to the acceleration to getting out of the STL.
Yeah, because the only thing that I can really remember is when Kirito is in the hospital and Asuna comes and visits him, and Kirito made a comment like he was in his coma for like 2 or 3 months or something like that, and
2 weeks. It was so that was 2 weeks, but that was after they had already come back from the STL.
okay, yeah, that sounds familiar.
So as far as them getting awakened after them essentially rebuilding the Underworld, I don't know, but that's kind of, maybe we'll find out in the next and last season, but I don't know.
Right. I guess we'll see. Or again, if any of our listeners have read the light novel, leave a comment, let us know some interesting information as well.
Yeah, if somebody needs us to put it in the questions on Spotify, I can do that. Just would appreciate some feedback. That would be awesome. Just quick shameless plug going on right there.
Right.
But so now that we've sidetracked ourselves super far, let's talk about our last integrity night, and that is Eldrie Synthesis 31.
Yep, the guy with the snake whip, Mr. Crybaby.
Well, he was the one in love with Alice, and it wasn't reciprocated in the slightest. So
No, yeah, that was pretty funny. He was a great character. He also had some anime logic in him for the final moment of his life.
Hey, you can will yourself alive. Remember that.
Exactly. Yeah, so in his final moments, he is flying with Alice on dragons to go fight the Dark Mage DIL, and she has taken the lives of like 3,000 orcs and blasted these worm-like monsters at him, and he's letting all of those monsters chase him, and he uses a snake whip to blast through some, and he even went negative HP. Thought that was pretty interesting.
150,000 negative HP. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's okay. That's extra life. He's using I don't know, the space as his extra life. I don't know. I have a good explanation for that one.
Yeah, I don't know. But he was one of the characters that we saw where his Fluck light completely, faded out. He is definitely no more.
Yes, he is no more. And as far as an integrity night, well, let me put it this way. Do you have a least favorite one?
It might have been Eldrie. I know I said Crybaby, like his emotional side was just too much for me.
Okay, yeah.
That was kind of, just annoying in a way.
Okay.
Did you have a least favorite?
Renly. Just complete. No, I couldn't do it. I didn't like his weapons.
Yeah, I see what you're going. Yeah, I can agree with that too.
Just running away. He was my least favorite. I will say I didn't mind him, but if I had to pick a least favorite, it's going to be him. It just didn't didn't like him as a character.
Yeah, I wish we did get to see a little bit more of Deus Elbert. He did some great stuff with his fire bows, completely destroying like waves of the orcs or goblins, one of the two. Goblins.
I think goblins, yep.
And yeah, I mean, he was just doing crowd control, really. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I wish he could have made a bigger fire blast. Why did he wait for him to spread out so he can only anime logic? That's all I can. Let's do the integrity thing and let's only kill a handful at a time instead of going right in the middle and making a really big fireball. All right. Or shooting why didn't they use their dragons and funnel them and just start obliterating wave after wave that way? There's so many better ways they could have fought, but this is also using new age tactics versus open warfare kind of thing. So
yeah. Oh, not only that, but we have a handful of characters that could do crowd control kind of things. The arrows can take out big bunches, and he was. The dragons could just breathe fire and wreak havoc that way. We eventually did get to see Alice's giant moon blast or crystal blast or whatever that mirror ball was.
Yep, and she could have used her rose petal fire thing. That isn't, you had made a good point. Once you said that, when I was watching this, I was like, oh shit, that's exactly what that is.
Yeah. Byakuya, Senbunzaka.
Yep. That move, especially now, I don't know if you're caught up on Bleach, but absolutely they look similar.
Yeah, exactly.
So she could have just obliterated wave after wave without even trying. But here we are. Make it less climactic if they would have done it that way. So I guess it's theatrical. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah, and in the end, it all worked out. I mean, it was still good, still a fun time watching everybody fight and getting a little bit more character development out of everybody's fights.
Yep, so I do want to ask, what did you think of this? Because you hadn't seen this before, and I had been trying to get you to watch this for a while.
Yeah. Overall, or just stay focusing on the war?
Let's just do overall, and if we want to, we can break down the war a little bit better.
Okay. Overall, absolutely fantastic. I loved it all. The war was obviously the biggest part of it. I'm really happy that they brought AI, brought from babies, live their own lives, and then brought into the real world because, who knows, that might actually be a real possibility in our future. So it's food for thought in that kind of way. So I like that. And then to go back into the underworld where, Kirito wants to go back. Asuna, she's just going to follow Kirito. But Alice, more importantly, wants to go back. And then we finally go back. And then, they're in space for whatever reason, away from their home planet. Yes. And then a whole new shit bomb just goes on them. So it gives you something to look forward to. I really hope they don't mess up and make space boring or too extreme or anything along those lines. Don't know how I feel about that quite yet, but I guess, we'll get there in a couple of years.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, absolutely amazing.
Good. I'm glad I can finally get you to watch this. I guess my follow-up question is, do you regret not watching this sooner?
I do. And like we said in the last episode, it's kind of because SAO 1 was awesome, and then the next two were a bit of a step down, and then season, Alicization came out. I was like, yeah, I'll get to it eventually, but too late. Waited a little too long, but I'm glad I watched it now. So
yeah, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you could kind of see where I was coming from because I had watched this when it was only subbed, and yeah, I was like, oh, granted, that was 2017.
No way, really? That long ago?
Yeah, that was.
Wow, this has been out for a while.
It has, and I think 2017 was when it came out. So I think I was watching it right after it came out, kind of stuff.
Right.
But it was good. I will say I'm looking forward to the next part. But that means it's been 6 years since this came out, and we're not getting the next part. They're like, oh yeah, this is gonna be the last part. But now we're gonna give you movies from the past instead. We're like, no, yeah. Finish.
Yeah. So it makes you question, how far is the light novel? Do they have enough content to go off of? They're already saying this is the final, so is the light novels even completed?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I think it's a good time for a break.
Hey Toasties, I'm Missy, here with my bestie Johnsy.
Hey y'all.
Do you like mind-blowing crime cases, spooky tales, and debating theories?
Well, what a coinky-dink, so do we. Grab your beverage and be a part of our Toasted Shenanigans on your favorite podcast app.
You can even send us a story or drink suggestion. Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or at toastedshenanigans.com.
Hey, this is Tyler, one of the hosts of RangerCast. On our show, we talk about Power Rangers and other multi-hued spandex heroes. We've got news, reviews, interviews. We talk about the comics, the games, the toys, and all things more phenomenal. Find us at Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or check us out at rangercast.net. May the power protect you.
And welcome back from our break. So we left you off with us searching for the current spot on where the light novel could be. And Matt, what did you find?
So I did find that the main series is still ongoing as of 2022. That's the most current thing I could find was basically a year ago. Everything that I'm finding is saying that the next arc is the last arc. The creator, author, whatever you want to call it, has confirmed it's going to be the last one. Riki Kawahara stated this is going to be the last arc. So pretty easy to say that the next series is going to be the last part of the series. Nothing says that the last part of the series can't be like 3 seasons. Don't really know.
Yeah,
but
I mean, yeah, Alicization was 2 big seasons, so...
Yeah, exactly. And if it stays on pace with how Alicization is, no issues with it being 3-4 seasons.
Right.
If it stays good. I have no idea what's going on in this last arc, so it could be something... You could have like a civil war in the Underworld and then have a civil war in the real world. Like, there's so many possibilities that could happen that, I don't know, it might be 2 or 3 seasons.
Right. I would be insanely shocked if nothing happens in the real world with the AI coming to, try to, be civilized with humans and get their rights or have further conversation with that going forward.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. I wonder if they're waiting for the series to conclude, or maybe they're waiting for the author, Reki, to say, hey, this is going to be my last book. Start, because I will be done with the book by the time you finish the series, because I do like the way anime is going now, where they're not trying to add too much fluff unless it's Bardo, which that's whatever.
Right.
And Dragon Ball Super, typical Dragon Ball Z fashion, where they're just adding a bunch of filler anyway, so it's whatever.
Right. And as far as us viewers on SAO goes, I wouldn't consider too much to be fluff anyway, so it's pretty tight-knit for a legit story.
Yeah, and if there is a bunch of fluff, let us know. I would be more than happy to find out that, hey, this entire training arc was not in the light novel. I'd be like, oh, cool. So what did happen then?
Exactly. But it's all good.
Yes. So let's kind of talk about the real-world characters, because we haven't really talked about them yet.
Sure. So as far as real-world characters go, we have, our hero cast as far as we have Asuna and Sinan and a couple other people that are in, Lifa, obviously, too. Lifa, the cousin, and Klein and Aegil, and just, a couple more others, just the people that we've come to learn in the previous series. And, they're starting to make appearances to help out in the Underworld.
Yes, I will say I did enjoy Lisbeth's basically speech with all of the Alpine characters, trying to get them to basically convert their characters to the Underworld to help out. And I kind of appreciate that they're not just kind of anime logicking this and just being like, oh yeah, no, let's all go help Kirito. He's in danger. Let's go help him. Which, I mean, the main characters did, the side characters did, but not every single individual was all up in arms about just converting their character.
Yeah, I like that a lot because it brought, real world conflict into this because if you were in that situation where you were playing a whole different game, you spent months, years, so many hours into one specific game and made your character super awesome there, only to be asked, hey, transfer your stuff over to a new game, and if you die there, you lose literally everything and you won't get anything in return. That's a legit fear.
Well, she had also said that there's no guarantee that once you convert it, it'll come back. Like
Not even that.
So that makes it even worse, where it's just like, now I'm gonna help this random game, this random thing. Yeah, cool. Kirito helped us in ALO, but all right, cool. I don't care. Like, he didn't pay for all my skins and for my memberships and for the game and the hundreds of hours I have in playing this game. Like, I can get it. It's not an easy thing to just be like, yeah, cool, sign me up.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, even if transferring all your stuff over would make you a pretty awesome character, it's still just that, not knowing part. Because I don't know if I would.
It'd be very, very hard, especially if it was just like, oh, please help me, and I have no idea who you are. I'd probably be like, yeah, sorry, I'll pass.
Right.
To be completely honest, like, it's like they didn't, no idea what that guy's name was, but you're spending hundreds of hours playing this game, and now you just want me to throw it away? That is not something anybody can easily just do.
Yeah. It's a very important concept. I'm glad they threw it in because I don't think you're going to convince many people to actually do something like that.
Yeah, I think they said there were 6,000 people that showed up to the event, so a third of the people converted.
Oh, I mean, that's a lot.
That is a lot, but it's not everybody, and they were getting tens and tens of thousands of Americans and Koreans and Chinese. I think that's all the ethnicities that went in as the red characters. You looking it up?
Yeah, that's what I wrote down too. China and Korea. But yeah, there was a shit ton, and it may have been a large number, and yes, they all came as like level 1 grunts or whatever, but it's a large quantity of people that can still do plenty of damage.
Yeah, power in numbers, as I like to say. Exactly. Absolutely. You've got these super OP characters in Lifa and Sinon and Asuna, and they're all just exhausted. And think they put a dent in these red characters, and in all actuality, they didn't do anything, really.
Right. Yeah, because that's the crazy part too, is who's to say like these Americans and Chinese and Koreans were having fun just freely killing whoever they wanted, and they could just go make another new character and just start all over.
Yeah, I am curious. We'll never find out, but I'm curious if it was just like the same person just kind of constantly going back in, like, oh man, I died with that character. Let me go in and be this guy. Let me carry a javelin and do this and yada, yada, yada.
Yep. I mean, I know they came in waves, but that still doesn't mean that, they couldn't have came in multiple times. So they were screwed, and it was a real legit, part of the show, and I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. And, I mean, you got to see some awesome characters with Sinon and Asuna and Lifa, and just seeing those characters as, like, god characters in the Underworld. And I will say Asuna's, what is it, Stacia, I think was the goddess that she was portraying.
Yep.
That character design is kind of, I don't want to say iconic because that's a little too much, but it's definitely like when you see it, you absolutely know who that is.
Right. Yeah, it definitely fit Asuna's like just character style.
Yep.
And at the same time, it was like godly enough to know that you knew it was important and some kind of OP character.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a little jealous of Bryce. I want a Asuna got Stacia figure. It's a super awesome looking figure.
Yeah, I remember him showing us that. That looked pretty sweet.
Yeah, it was really cool to see all them and their fights. I'll be completely honest, I kind of just zoned in and out of it. Nothing super emotionally investing in any of it beyond Asuna fighting. Like Lifa telling that pig orc character Lilpillin, that, oh no, you're a human. I get where Leaf was coming from, where, you know, to her, where she's been playing MMORPGs her entire life. I mean, technically everybody could be a human to her, because you never know. Just like that funny moment that you had brought up when we were talking about SAO, where that guy was playing a girl and then is a guy. So you never know. Guys can be girls, girls can be guys. You can have, obviously we don't have orcs and dwarves and all these other characters that we have in our RPG games, that it's not real. So it gotta be a human in there somewhere.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if basically what it came down to is, you know, if you can talk, you can communicate with me. Yeah, you're as much human as I care.
Yeah, so it was good character development, because, you know, I really enjoyed the fact that while they were meant to hate the people from the Dark Territory, they didn't hate them. They didn't just have prejudice against these individuals because they were supposed to. While yes, war is hell, they started actually having feelings for the people on the other side.
Right. Yeah, especially in the events of the Pugilist and Sheeta from Synthesis 12, you know, them getting like the little love relationship just through their battle.
Yeah, speaking of, I so much enjoyed her curse kind of breaking with the fight between him. I thought it was good. It was kind of a light lull in the series that was kind of needed, because if you didn't have that, it kind of felt like everything was just nonstop fighting.
Right. Yeah, because as soon as the humans came in, it was just so much happening at once, and you really needed to pull back a little bit. And Sheeta's sword, you know, dissolving because she no longer wants to officially cut down everything she sees. Now she wants to kind of protect this one individual for a little bit of, I don't want to say emotion, because there's plenty of emotion going on, but like this was just a good change of pace.
Yeah, I'll agree. It was emotion, but it was just like you said, it was a good change of pace emotion that happened in this.
Oh, let's go back. I want to bring up one quick thing with Lifa.
Okay.
I did like that, like, she was the only character that was able to, like, regenerate her own health. And
yep.
Didn't she, like, also lose a limb, and she was able to regenerate it back through her own powers from Alfheim and stuff like that?
Not through Alfheim. So her ability so she had temporarily used Terraria, an account because of that character, she had the ability to basically regenerate at will.
Was that a Underworld ability, or was that her ability from...
That was an Underworld
Alfheim
ability from the character that she was portraying.
Okay. Because I guess I only kind of bring that up because we saw that, like, Shinon was able to bring out her rifle from Gungale.
Yes. I think Lifa looking the same way that she did within Alfheim is the same thing that Sinon did with bringing her gun out, and just in that manner. Not 100% sure though.
Well, either way, I thought it was cool that she was able to bring out that kind of ability, because if it's one thing that was pretty prevalent in this show is don't get too attached to your limbs, because they will fall off.
Yes, unless you're Kirito, and then you can just reattach them multiple times.
Yeah, that was strange too. But God, like every episode, people were losing limbs left and right.
Like I said, this was not meant for kids.
Okay.
Eyeballs getting obliterated, limbs just getting cut off. So many times did just half a body get chopped off. Yu-Gi-Oh! Kirito had it happen. Sinon had it happen. Like, just everybody, it seemed like. One an episode, just half a body.
Yep. Someone's losing something. Like, it was definitely awesome the first couple times, but damn, they overplayed it quite a bit in this second half.
They spend all their money on blood. Come on. They can't make so I will say, as far as the humanoid characters are concerned, once they got into it, I don't want to say the series took a downturn, but it was more enjoyable with the Integrity Knights than it was with the human characters.
I 100% agree. The introduction of the humans, I feel very split on, because it kind of takes away from like that magical lore that we come to expect out of the Underworld. And like, you want to see the Underworld do their stuff, and you want to see them get their help, and you want to see them win. But then as soon as the humans came in, they completely overtook like the storyline, and it was kind of like, okay, well, now we know they're gonna kind of win, and I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It just kind of, I get the humans coming in as the bread characters, and then when the humans came in, the Japanese humans came in to kind of help save the day, like all the emotion just kind of went away.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of how it. Yeah, that's exactly how it went. I get it, but at the same time, like you didn't need it.
I wish
or
they
you
could
did
have
too much.
I feel like it was too much. I wish they could have just had like Lifa and Sinon and Asuna come and just kind of take over a couple waves, and that emotion could have still been there.
Right.
They wouldn't have gotten overpowered the way they did, and I get it. I feel like this section was better in the light novel than it was within the anime, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I can see that.
Without
it was going to be funner to read than it would be to see, because there's no emotion when you're watching things happen that quickly.
Yeah, definitely. So then, I guess one of the major things that we haven't talked about yet is Kirito coming back.
Yeah, this motherfucker's been MIA for, 3/4 of the anime?
Yeah, I did enjoy their explanation as to why he didn't come back. It made sense. Basically, he was in so much grief that his Flucklight, as they call it, couldn't come back. He didn't want to come back and essentially suffer more, because I feel like that's what he believed what would have happened if he came back, is that he just would have continued to suffer instead of being the Kirito that we know.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of emotional trauma and physical trauma that he went through in the Underworld, where he lost Yu-Gi-Oh! And fought so hard.
Well, it's not even just Yu-Gi-Oh, but it's, as we saw when he was kind of going through his past, where it wasn't just the Underworld. I feel like that was a catalyst to it, but it was everything. It was all of SAO. It was all of Elfheim. Everything just kind of stacked on top of it, and he couldn't take it anymore.
Right. Yeah, especially when it came down to, him being the good guy and actually, taking the lives of other people, like Scarface was trying to, show.
Yeah. So I get it. So Kirito came back in God mode. I don't know how I feel about that.
I didn't like the fact that he could fly super, super fast.
Yeah, I don't know. Just, he became the administrator. That's what it is. That's how I'll logic it.
Sure, yeah.
So between the fight with Scarface, as we like to call him now, and Gabriel, which of the two did you like better?
I kind of want to do Gabriel Vecta because, he did have a pretty sweet transformation in the end.
Okay. Super anticlimactic finish, but yes.
Right. I don't Gabriel turning into that like demonoid kind of thing kind of gave me Black Clover vibes. When you got Asta's demonic shit going on in the background, you kind of have that base figure, and that kind of looked like it.
I get that. I can completely understand what you're talking about. I personally like Scarface's fight better. It was more of a sword fight than the BS, like, super fast flying and all this other stuff that was going on. So I think that's why I liked it better. You had Kirito's emotion going on when he logs all the characters out. Yeah. And then just kind of turning that guy into a tree, I thought was great. It was justice.
Yeah, when he turned Scarface into the Gigas tree. Yeah, that was it's very interesting.
Yes. So I asked you about that one. Do you have a favorite fight overall?
Earlier when I was saying with Bercoli being one of my favorite fights, when he was able to slash backwards in time.
Okay.
I thought that was just all in all, I thought it was just a fun fight because it wasn't like overpowered in a way. He had to fight for it, and when he finally got it, it still wasn't enough.
Yeah, I completely understand. When I was watching this, I was thinking of questions, and one of my questions was gonna be, besides like the Kirito and Gabriel fight, which one is your favorite? But the fact that you answered not that one, I think is pretty good.
Or did you have more thoughts?
No. I think my favorite fight is the Scarface one against Kirito.
That was fun.
To be completely honest, I thought it had everything that we wanted as far as SAO is concerned.
Right. I'm looking at my notes, and in episode 20, when Kirito is fighting Vector, I put he turns into a demon and takes planet's energy for a spirit bomb, and then Yu-Gi-Oh's spirit comes out of the sword.
That's funny because I thought of spirit bomb too when Kirito's sword was gathering energy from the world. I'm like, oh look, it's a spirit bomb.
Yep. So super iconic right there.
Yes. Can't blame him on that one. At least his sword does do that, so it makes sense.
Yeah, it's the Gigas tree coming in, sucking all the power, so you can make it work.
Yes. And then I guess one other part that we do need to talk about is just the last 3 episodes with Alice in the real world as an artificial intelligence robot walking around being Alice.
Right. I'm happy it happened because I expected it to. I needed to see Alice come back to the real world somehow. I didn't expect her to be as humanly fluid as she was. She was like a perfect android.
Okay.
But it's okay. It's anime. I'll buy it. Even though they're trying to this is 2026.
Yep.
And here we are with a realistic AI in our world.
Well,
and by the way, we put her in a perfect android body.
That looks exactly like her.
Yeah.
I will say Higa does foreshadow that they have the capabilities. They just didn't have AI to be able to use the capabilities.
Right. But yeah, they were kind of hinting at that one with Ichi, Amon, and Niemon.
Yep.
So that's why I expected them to be, a little bit more robotic, but it was still okay. I liked it. So yeah, Alice comes to the real world. She's giving all these press conferences and she's handling them like a true diplomat. She's being great about it. We already made a joke about one of our favorite scenes in the beginning about the brains.
Yep.
And I did like also that we needed to see her with the necessity to be plugged into a wall by a cord so that she can keep herself powered.
Yeah, because if she didn't get powered, it's like, so is she just like walking around with nuclear power somehow in this tiny body? Like,
right.
That's not possible.
At least not yet. But yeah, it's a little far-fetched.
Or she got like a solar panel on top of her head and constantly pulling in power. They made sense. I like it.
Yep.
Do something.
And then I thought it was pretty funny when she shipped herself to Kirito's house.
Yes. Talk about an expensive shipping bill.
Oh yeah, that thing had been heavy as fuck.
And then that carrier couldn't have been very happy about what was going on right there.
Yeah, right. It's like, wow, what am I lugging around, a dead body or what? You're not far off.
So when I watched that, I'm like, why? She could have like got a ride for something. Why?
It was definitely interesting, and it was different, and I appreciated that much. But yeah, of course, it might be a little bit more realistic if she just changed her clothes, put her hair up, wore a hat, and just traveled over
Maybe
there.
put some sunglasses on or something. I don't know.
Right? Just
she knows where he lives.
Right? Yeah. Just act like you're avoiding the paparazzi like everybody else, and just.
But she doesn't need to breathe, so she can ship herself in a box. So I guess full circle. There we go. True. Now we know why she did it.
Yeah, it's still funny.
Yes, I completely agree. For me, I thought the last 3 episodes were needed. Like you said, basically took the words out of my mouth. It was all needed. It was all good, and it all made sense. And that's really all we needed out of that.
Right. Yeah. And I also appreciated the moment when Kirito brought Alice to the dojo, and they had a quick little real life spar, and then they break swords immediately because they're so strong.
Well, she is a robot, so
right. Yeah, that entire time I was thinking like, there is no way Kirito is gonna win this one. She's a fucking android. She's got way more physical power right now.
So one thing I did think of, and the only reason why I saw it or I thought about it is because I had semi-recently watched SAO, and he has a sparring match with his sister and does terrible. Why do you think he didn't do terrible this time around?
Interesting. Yeah, because this time, he was still kind of much like SAO, where they were, trapped for a long period of time, essentially, mimicking what a coma would do.
Yep.
And this time he was in a short-lived coma, so maybe his body didn't degenerate that much comparatively.
Okay, but I don't think he did terrible.
Right, because in Elfheim he wasn't, he was moving around like a normal body.
Yep.
I don't know. Well, I guess he had 200 years in Underworld to practice, so maybe he was just that much better than when he was back in the Elfheim days.
I guess one thing... What's up?
I was going to say, speaking of 200 years... this dude's lived many, many lives compared to a normal human. So back when he was having that conversation with his parents about what he wanted to do with his college life and beyond, I was like, I really hope his parents don't overlook the fact that, he's lived for 200 years, much longer than his own parents. Like Kirito's got to be packing some major wisdom right now.
Sort of. I guess he did talk to his father in a good way. That's true.
Right. It still worked out in a positive way, yeah. So
Yes. One thing I do want to say before we get too far as the explanation on why he can use a sword, the only thing I can think of was it was imprinted on his soul, because he was using his soul as a means to play in the underworld. So maybe the fact that it was imprinted inside himself versus just in his mind, maybe. That's the only thing I can think of.
yeah, I see where you're going with that, and I can play with that, yeah.
Again, anime logic to anime logic is all I can do with that one.
Yeah. One thing that I wish that they would have done just a tiny bit more in the final episode, because they dropped it in, was Kirito's copied Flucklight. I cannot wait to see essentially Kirito versus Kirito in the next season, because that's got to happen.
I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be a verse. I think it's going to be he is going to use his soul to help himself in the real world and in the underworld.
Okay, I can see them working hand in hand, but I will be surprised if there's not going to be at least one scene where he's fighting himself, because I don't know, maybe they're going to have a slight difference in morals somewhere, and then they're going to have a misunderstanding because of it, and then they'll come together in the end and they'll work together and they'll save both worlds in the very end. But I do want to see them essentially fight each other for a second.
Okay, I can see that, because if we remember with Kirito and Higa talking,
that too.
So they had their 3 criteria. It was Asuna alone, Asuna and Kirito, and then Kirito alone.
Yep.
Obviously, we know it's Kirito alone, so maybe our real-life Kirito will attempt to fight against our VR Kirito for the fact that Kirito is going to attempt to save both worlds, and then he's going to realize it's himself, and then he's going to try and only save the underworld, or he's going to try to convince himself to save both. I can see either happening.
Right. Yeah, because didn't the copied Kirito only had an interest in the underworld?
Only for the fact that it was him by himself.
Right.
So yes, that was what the copied Kirito's goal was, and that was to save the underworld. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so lots can happen, and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, it's going to be, hopefully, we'll get something, but like I had said earlier, maybe they're waiting for the light novel to conclude so that they don't have to do any filler or anything along that lines, and they can stay as true to the light novel as they have been, as they can. Like I said, we haven't read them, so we can only speculate at this point.
Right.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Unless you want to go a little bit deeper into more expectations out of the next season.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I guess what I was saying about Kirito, those are my expectations for the copy itself, at least.
Okay.
So we know this underworld is advanced enough to at least travel through space, and there's going to be space monsters.
Yep.
So are we going to be talking about contact with more planets? Are we going to be talking about an invasion of another kind of similar planet or something?
My question is, where the fuck are these things coming from?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking too. I can't imagine when the underworld was created that they thought so far ahead that there should be an outside civilization so far away.
No, they thought of to the stress test, and that was it. That was their end goal, was the stress test.
Right. Yeah, that wasn't supposed to be, it was supposed to be like a hard reset or a start over or whatever after that, and then mimic it.
And now we're on fucking space monsters.
Yeah, I know idea.
I wonder if we find out a way that the seed somehow got infused into the underworld, which we did see Kaiba, so it is potential that that's what they were inferring to. Maybe. I don't know how that would happen if this is supposed to be a super secret IP address, but this is SAO, so weird things have happened.
Maybe Kaiba had some, because, we see a copy of his consciousness already present, so maybe he's responsible for outside forces, or maybe it's going to be an ultimate fusion of all of the seeded stuff, and everybody's going to live in one multi-plane world where multiple dimensions can coincide and cross, and I don't know.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see. Gotta wait for the next season. I really have no idea what's going to happen, because they left little glimpses and it is absolutely nothing like anything we've seen. The only thing we can guess is that we're going to go to the cathedral, and Alice is going to see Silka, her sister.
Yep.
And that's really all I can be like, oh yeah, no, that I feel confident in saying that. Everything else is going to be like, let me throw some mud at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah. All I can do is just hope that it's going to be a banger of a season, because we got high expectations now that Alicization was, pretty much a huge success in terms of its story.
Yeah, I will say Alicization 100% redeemed SAO as far as content is concerned. For anybody that wants to kind of crap on SAO, they haven't watched this, because while yes, there's some flaws, this is not something that you can just be like, oh yeah, no, it's terrible, yada yada yada. This, you just want to shit on SAO because it's easy.
Yeah, it's a fantastic series for a reason. Don't hate it because it was overhyped with SAO 1. So
no,
and plus I'm just excited to see more. Like, we saw Tisei and Ronier flying those jets in the end, and 200 years had passed by and they're still alive as well. So I'm curious to see.
Well, it's been more than 200 years, because it's been 2 weeks of Kirito being in a coma, plus whatever the time frame in which it took him to go out of coma to go home, and then finally find the secrets of Alice just walking into his room in a t-shirt. That was funny. Yeah. So I was just like, all right, just crossing all those lines. So,
what you're getting at is, in those 2 weeks or so that has passed by with them in the real world, hundreds of more years have passed by potentially in the underworld. So, like I was saying earlier in this episode, technology has advanced really far, and we have no idea. And everybody's Tisei and Roni has survived that entire time. So
yeah. Speaking of the next season, for a finish, do you think this is going to end in a harem where Kirito basically ends with everybody, or do you think he's going to only end with Asuna as essentially the person he's with?
I do think he's going to have Asuna as his main girl, and he's going to have Alice right there fighting for him the entire time.
Okay.
And it's just going to be, I just think ultimately he's going to stay with Asuna. I don't think he's going to have any romantic feelings towards anybody else, even though there's going to be pushes for it with girls, and it's going to come off as a harem in that aspect. But as far as the real definition of a harem, not quite.
Okay, I like that. I want to agree. I think they've done everything they can to be like, yep, everybody loves Kirito, but he only has romantic feelings for one person, and that's it. So
right, that's how I feel.
Okay. Yeah. So, anything else you got as far as SAO is concerned?
No, I think I'm good at that point.
All right. So then I just kind of want to talk about just quickly what you're watching right now, since it's been a minute since we've talked about anything as far as what we're watching is concerned. Just anything that sticks out to you, anything you want to talk about?
Like on the side?
Yeah. Either with short flights or just something you're watching on the side.
I guess I'm only watching a few things on the side. I know if our listeners will listen to our summer impressions, totally in love with Zom 100.
Okay.
If you're following us on short flights, I am falling in love with Reign of the Seven Spellblades.
Okay.
We're halfway through the season, so it's just so good. I'm so happy I started that.
Yep.
And I'm following you guys with Bleach, and
so you are current on Bleach?
Almost.
Okay.
I've been on vacation for the week and a half, so I got to catch up a little bit. But
oh man, so as of August 13th, the latest episode, man, episode 19 is. You can watch my reaction. Anybody who's listened to us this far, watch my reaction to Bleach. It is just amazing. Absolutely amazing. This last episode, I immediately want to go look for a figure of what happened in this last episode, because
interesting.
It is just is remarkable. It's so good. It's absolutely so good.
All right. Well, that's encouraging.
Yes.
And then on Sundays, we have Jobless Reincarnation.
Yep.
Same deal. I was on vacation, so I'm not 100% caught up, but I did watch, 4 episodes of it so far, and I'm enjoying that one.
Not as good as season 1, but definitely good.
Right.
For what I will say for Jobless.
Yeah, I can agree. It's still interesting. I'm still going to watch it, so I'm happy.
Yep.
But yeah, other than that, I think that's all I'm watching so far.
Okay.
So what about you? What are you watching on the side?
Oh, man. I don't know what happened, but apparently I just decided I wanted to go on a isekai kick and watch like everything, not actually everything isekai, but a bunch of isekais. And of course, I wanted to watch the ones that had the absolute longest names possible. So the cheat skill one, so I watched that one. That was pretty good. I watched World's Finest Assassin. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. I think I binged that one in like 3 days. So I will say I really must have enjoyed that one if I watched 12 episodes in 3 days. And then I watched, I'm like trying to stay current on Liar Liar, which... For anybody that's checked out any of our other episodes, that was one of our reaction episodes for the podcast. Just trying to stay current on that one. It's pretty interesting. I keep getting No Game, No Life feels for whatever reason.
Okay.
So then the last one that I've been watching the past few weeks is The Aristocrats, Otherworldly Adventure Serving Gods Who Go Too Far. That was fun. They leave it on a super cliffhanger, so I'm curious when we'll get a season 2 on that one. The World's Finest Assassination, Born as an Aristocrat, was probably my favorite of the 3. Very, very good, interesting characters, interesting world, but just watching more isekai stuff. And yeah, I don't know what it is. Apparently, I decided I have a bunch of free time somehow, and I've been just binge watching anime.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that because you're obviously getting a lot of great entertainment in.
Yes, I do completely agree. So if anybody's looking for any recommendations, probably the last one, which was, The World's Finest Assassin Gets Reincarnated as an Aristocrat, would probably be my favorite of the 3.
Okay.
If anybody hasn't checked it out, check it out. It's pretty good.
All right. Yeah. We gave everybody a small list of recommendations right there, so lots of great anime.
Yeah, and that's all we got for this episode of Anime Lounge Podcast. Thank you so much for listening this far. Please subscribe to us on anywhere you are listening to us. Also check out the Anime Show on Facebook and Instagram. It's a great time to check them out because we're getting towards the next coming season, so seeing everything that's going to be coming out next season, then all the other awesome anime content that they have on there. Also, please drop us a comment if there's some interesting facts from the light novel that we didn't talk about. I absolutely want to know. I know Lance really wants to know as well. Would love to hear anything that we're missing out from the light novels, and drop us a like on this episode. Have a good one.
Later, guys.